Hey everyone, welcome back to Firsthand Globetrotting. I'm really excited about where I'm headed today. This is a country I've heard so much about and have wanted to visit for a long time. So today, I'm at the airport waiting for my flight to San Jose, Costa Rica. I'll be in Costa Rica for about a week. This should be a really fun trip. The flight over was direct, right on time, and honestly pretty smooth, so I can't really complain. Things are off to a good start. I've heard so many great things about Costa Rica over the years and about how amazing it is for nature lovers, so this is a country that's definitely been on my bucket list. It's a really popular destination and tourism is a huge part of the economy here, but what really surprised me was how informal everything was when I was booking excursions and guides. Nearly everything I booked was just sending messages to people on WhatsApp. Most of the recommended drivers and guides run their own businesses, so there aren't any websites you book with, you just talk directly to them. It definitely made the planning process seem more personal, but honestly, it had me wondering if everything would work out since most of them didn't even want any deposit money for my bookings. But I'll tell you up front, the process went perfectly for me. All of the guides I booked were amazing, and it was so much better than getting tours through big companies. I'll tell you a lot more about my amazing tours later, don't worry. As soon as I cleared customs, I was greeted by my driver from R&L Rides. My first destination is La Fortuna, about 2.5 hours away from San Jose along winding mountain roads, so I got a private driver instead of driving myself. It was definitely the right call, since after a long flight to Costa Rica, I just got to relax and look out the window. I always love the first drive from the airport to your hotel when you're in a new country, since you get to see all of the towns and cities and people. It really sinks in that you've finally arrived. But the drive got even nicer as we got further away from San Jose, past even the smaller cities and towns, and into some of the more rural areas. Just look at how amazing this is with the rolling green hills and the clouds just above them in the sky and all of the vegetation along the hillside. I came here for the nature, so seeing this out my window really got me excited for what the next week in Costa Rica had in store. The longer we drove, the happier I was that I was just a passenger and got to look out the window and enjoy the scenery while the driver did all the hard work. If anyone's interested, I'll put the driver's name and contact info down in the video description. These aren't advertisements for the drivers or guides or anything like that. I paid full price for all of them, but I know it can be overwhelming trying to figure out who to book your transportation or tours with, and since I had such a good experience, I figured I'd give them a shout out. One thing to remember in Costa Rica is that there are so many amazing places you can visit, and a lot of them seem really close by when you look at them on a map, but the driving takes a lot longer than you expect. I see a lot of people trying to cram too many places into one trip and spend way too much time in traffic on the narrow mountain roads, so on this trip I'm sticking with 2 spots, La Fortuna and Monteverde. When I got to my hotel in La Fortuna, there was a nice big frog statue there to greet me. La Fortuna isn't a huge city, and I picked a hotel in town so that I could easily walk around and go to restaurants and shops, so I wasn't expecting there to be so much nature right at my hotel. But I was completely wrong. The hotel building stretched back away from the street, and there was a mini jungle on the property that I could see as soon as I walked out the front door of my hotel room. The trees and plants are so different than the ones I'm used to where I live in the United States. It was just so nice to look out at. And there was even a little stream flowing back behind the hotel, giving it a really calm and peaceful feeling. My room was supposed to have a view of the volcano, but I have no idea where it is or where I should be looking. But even without the volcano view, I'm still really happy with this hotel. It's right in the city, but surrounded by beautiful nature. After 4.5 hours on the flight, then an hour going through customs, then 2.5 hours driving to La Fortuna, I was getting hungry. On the walk to dinner, the clouds moved a little bit and I think I figured out where the volcano is. I can see the base of it now. In Costa Rica, the smaller, more affordable restaurants that sell local foods are called sodas. I've heard they're great places to eat at if you want a local experience, so of course I went to one. I started off with some fresh juice, since Costa Rica is famous for its variety of fruits and juices. Next up, a traditional heart of palm salad. It's pretty similar to the other salads I've had, except that it has palm hearts in it. I can't remember ever having them before, but they added a nice flavor to the salad. For my main, I went with one of the most famous and easiest to find Costa Rican dishes, casado. It starts with a protein. I got chicken with mine, then has a bunch of different sides like white rice, black beans, sweet plantains, coleslaw, potato salad, and other things. The interesting thing with this dish is that the sides will probably be a little bit different every place you go. And to finish off, they even had a free bowl of rice pudding that they gave me for dessert. Now that I was fully stuffed full of dinner, I headed back to my hotel and finally got my first perfectly clear view of the volcano. I love how it looks. It's just such an impressive view when you have a big volcano towering over La Fortuna, with the city lights and traffic and the people moving around down below. I don't think I'm ever going to get sick of this view. Because it's so close to the equator, it gets dark here pretty early, around 6 or 6:30, but after a really long travel day, I wasn't planning to stay up very late and headed back to bed early. When I woke up on my second day in Costa Rica, there was a tiny little frog outside my hotel door. I'm going to have to be really careful around here that I don't accidentally step on something. I decided to start my morning with a little walk through the small forest area behind the hotel. I love how it's right on the property, steps away from my door. My hotel is right in the city of La Fortuna, a block away from the central square, but when you're back here, it feels like you're miles away from civilization, out in the Costa Rican wilderness. As I was walking along one of the little paths, I looked up at the branches and there was even a lizard hanging out up there. You really have to keep your eyes open because there are animals everywhere you go. And it's not a massive property or anything. The forested area is actually pretty small, but when you have the sounds of water flowing in the little stream and you're surrounded by plants and other vegetation, it's easy to forget where you are. Breakfast was included with my room, so I got to sit in the open-air restaurant and look over the stream while I ate my food this morning. To start, because this is Costa Rica, one of the world's best coffee producers, of course there was going to be local coffee with breakfast. Next up was some fresh banana and papaya and a glass of fresh juice. If you like fruit and juices, trust me, you get them everywhere when you're here, so it's so great and they taste so fresh. But the highlight of my breakfast was the most traditional Costa Rican breakfast food, gallo pinto. The base of it is rice and beans, but then it has spices and other ingredients added, making it surprisingly filling with a nice savory flavor. And mine came with some cheese and fried sweet plantains on the side. After breakfast, when I was walking back to my room, there was another lizard out on the grass exploring the grounds of the hotel. Lots of animal sightings, and I haven't even left the property. But I've got bigger plans today, so I headed out to the road and looked back at the cloud-covered volcano in the distance. The activity I have planned this morning is to head to one of the most famous and popular tourist attractions in the area, La Fortuna Waterfall. I'm really excited to check it out. One thing to be aware of in Costa Rica is that pretty much everything has an entry fee, even the nature hikes, so my first stop was at the visitor center to get a ticket. But the fees help to preserve land and create more parks and maintain all of the amazing natural beauty in the country, so it's completely worth it. They have some toilets and change rooms up top before you walk down to the waterfall, so you can change into your swimsuit before you get to the water. And they have an on-site restaurant too, in case you get hungry. As you walk up to the start of the waterfall path, there's a viewing platform where you get an amazing view down to the jungle far below, and you can see the waterfall off in the distance. It has the hills towering above it, then so many shades of green surrounding it on every side. It may look small from here because it's so far away, but just wait until I get up close to it. You can see how far away it looks from up here. That means there's going to be a nice hike down into the jungle if I want to get into the splash zone. The path down is a staircase that takes you deeper and deeper into the jungle. It's a little over 500 steps from the top to the bottom. You're surrounded on every side of the stairs by rocks and trees and plants, and pretty soon the staircase is the only sign of civilization you can see. Eventually there was a little break in the trees, just big enough to see the waterfall off in the background, so I knew I was getting close. Remember how I said you always need to keep your eyes open in Costa Rica? I looked up in the trees as I was walking down the stairs, and there were a couple of monkeys just hanging out up there, keeping their eyes on all of the tourists down below. But eventually I made it all the way down to the bottom of the stairs, and I could see the pool of water through the jungle, almost there. Once I stepped out of the jungle and got my first full, up-close look at the waterfall, I knew that coming here was completely worth it. Just look at all of that water pouring over the edge and crashing down in the pool. With all of the vines hanging down and the rock walls surrounding it, the pool at the bottom looks almost like a bowl that's colored with shades of green from all of the vegetation growing around it. It's nearly 250 feet high, so the water is really moving fast by the time it gets all the way to the bottom. Just look at the splash zone in the pool. It makes a mist in the air, so you can feel the water even when you're pretty far away from where it hits. One of the nicest things about it is that you don't just have to look at it from a distance, you can actually hop into the water and swim near it if you want. There are a bunch of big rocks surrounding the pool at the base of the waterfall, so you can sit on top of them and dip your feet into the water as you watch the water flowing down from above. You have to be careful though, since it can be hard to see all the rocks under the water, and they get really slippery with the fast moving current everywhere. But make sure you wear your swimsuit and get into the water. It's so cool and refreshing after the hike through the jungle, and knowing that the water rushing past you was hundreds of feet in the air a few minutes ago is such a great feeling. It's a pretty popular place, so there are going to be a lot of other tourists around, but honestly, when you're relaxing in your own little spot in the water by yourself with nothing but the sound of crashing water, it's really peaceful. If you swim in the pool where the water's splashing down and you duck your head underwater, you can see a bunch of fish hanging out down there. As you can see from the video, it looks like they're getting thrown around from the power of the water, but I guess they must get used to that living there. The amount of water that's flowing out from the jungle to form the waterfall is really incredible. It's a seemingly never-ending supply. But if you're wondering where it goes once it hits the pool, there's a little whitewater river that takes it a little further down into some lower pools. The water down below is a lot calmer than the upper pool, since you don't have a non-stop rush of water splashing and crashing and rushing by you as it flows, but it's still nice and cool and refreshing, with even more jungle around you making a really great atmosphere. The water keeps on flowing past the lower pool and goes deeper into the jungle. I have no idea where it ends up since the path didn't go any further, but it seems like it just disappears into the wall of trees in front of me. Honestly, if I didn't have anything else to do, I think I could just stay at the waterfall all day long. The jungle, the sounds of flowing water, the towering rock walls, it makes for such an amazing visual and relaxing experience. I love everything about it. If you like nature, and you like water, and you aren't afraid of a little hike, then this is a must-do if you come to La Fortuna. I'd do this again without a doubt. But eventually I had to leave, and the only bad part was that 500 stairs down to the waterfall meant that I had to take 500 stairs back up when I was finally ready to return to civilization. It really wasn't too bad though. I think it took me around 30 minutes in each direction. It was obviously a little harder on the way up, but I'm not going to complain about a little bit of exercise. If you end up getting tired on the walk, They have benches on some of the landings so you can rest up a bit before continuing the climb. And guess who I saw again on the way back up? My friends the monkeys were in the same spot they were when I came down, but this time it looked like they were taking a nap up in the branches. I guess they must have had a hard morning. Another interesting thing they had partway up the staircase was a hand washing station. Wasn't something I was expecting to see in the middle of 500 stairs. Eventually, I made it all the way back up and decided to get something to drink to help cool down after half an hour of stair climbing. With your entry ticket to the waterfall, there's also a little orchid garden that you can walk around near the restaurant and gift shop, so I decided to check it out. If you're expecting a really natural experience, it's not really that. The little trails along the path are very man-made with paving stones and walls and railings. But, like everything I've seen so far in Costa Rica, if you just turn your head away from the built-up trails, then the only thing you see is the really dense jungle surrounding it. There were handrails all along the path, but you have to be careful with all of the insects crawling along them. Even some of the fluffy-looking caterpillars can be venomous. I'm not sure if this one was, so I didn't take any chances and gave it plenty of space. Check out this amazing butterfly I saw. The wings are a beautiful red color towards the edges, but completely see-through in the middle. Then with the black dot on the wing, it reminded me of the eyeball of a bigger animal. I love the look of it. The orchids are all grafted onto the trees along the path, but unfortunately I don't think I was there at the right time of the year to see them really blooming and showing off their colors. I wouldn't have come out here just for the orchid garden, but since I was already here and had a little bit of extra time before I was going to head back to La Fortuna, it was worth it to spend a few extra minutes walking along the paths and seeing if anything caught my eye. When I got back outside, the parking lot was completely full now. I definitely recommend getting here as early as possible to beat the crowds. And if you're looking for a place to take a picture with a big, colorful La Fortuna sign, there's one right next to the visitor center and parking lot. When I got back into town, it was just about lunchtime and I worked up a good appetite from climbing all those stairs, so I found another soda to have lunch in. I'm a big fan of outdoor dining, so whenever I'm in a country where open-air restaurants are common, I really like it. Especially on vacation, I love just sitting and watching what's going on along the streets of the city. Like I said at the start, you're going to see me drinking a lot of juices while I'm here. This one is Cas, a fruit that I've only ever seen in Central America. It has a sour and tart taste, and is something I could never easily get back home. For my starter, I had another Costa Rican specialty, gallos. This is completely different from the gallo pinto I had for breakfast. This one is more like a taco. Mine had a chicken stew that I could scoop into my corn tortilla to eat. I was really hungry, so I also got a main dish, sopa negra. It's a black bean soup, giving it that distinctive broth color with chicken, onions, eggs, and a bunch of other stuff in it. And to finish, some more rice pudding for dessert. La Fortuna isn't a very big city, and my hotel was only a block or so away from the city center. I think it only took me 5 minutes at the most to get from the door of my hotel room to the heart of the city. The easiest landmark to look for is La Fortuna Park, a central park that's around 1 square block in size, but pretty much the center point of the city. But, like everywhere you go in and around La Fortuna, the Arenal volcano is always visible in the distance, making for a perfect backdrop to the city. Pretty much every road around the park is lined with restaurants and bars and tourist shops. This is a really popular tourist destination, so the entire center of La Fortuna caters to the flood of tourists. Most of the stores down there are selling the same types of souvenirs as every other place, so just be prepared to see a lot of overpriced things to buy. And if you haven't heard about Pura Vida yet, you definitely will after going into the souvenir shops. It's sort of the national saying in Costa Rica, and they put it on pretty much everything they sell in the tourist shops. I didn't have a chance to wander around very long because it started to rain pretty soon after I started exploring the downtown area. Before long, the light showers turned into an absolute downpour. so I rushed back to my hotel to stay dry. I'm here in rainy season, so you can be pretty sure that there's going to be at least some rain every day. I think it only lasted around an hour, and when it stopped, I walked around the little jungle behind the hotel just in case the rain started again and I'd need to quickly take cover indoors. Rainy season means you're going to get some rain pretty much every day, but I found it was almost always in the afternoon and never really lasted that long. Plus, all of the rain kept everything so vibrant and green and kept all of the streams and waterfalls flowing. When I was finally convinced that the rain was done and it was safe to head back out, the top of the volcano was finally visible. But it was really interesting that there was a ring of clouds surrounding the middle of it, and none at the top or bottom. I wanted to keep looking around the downtown area to get my bearings for the rest of my time here, and to see if there were any interesting places to make sure that I stopped at before I left. The fruit vendors already had their stands set back up. I saw a lot of them selling this little spiky red fruit. There were even some traditional dancers up on a stage in the Central Park. Clearly, people who live here don't allow the rain to ruin their days and know how to handle rainy season. They have a big, colorful tourist map in the city center, and it really shows you how central the Arenal volcano is to this area. Everything's in its shadow at the foot of the hill. So far, I'm pretty excited about my time in La Fortuna. It's not a very big city, but seems like it'll have everything I'll need while I'm here. Definitely a very touristy place, and nearly everything in the city center is aimed at visitors, but I haven't found it to be overwhelming, and the salespeople haven't been aggressive or anything like that. There are some cities that you go to and people are just trying to sell you things nonstop, but it wasn't like that here at all. Unless I went into a store or asked about a tour, no one really bothered me. You might have noticed it seems like it's getting darker in some of these videos. It's my reminder about how early the sun sets in Costa Rica. It sneaks up on you. So even if you're like me and eat dinner pretty early on vacation, it's still going to be pitch black outside by the time you sit down, with only the city lights visible outside the restaurant. For dinner, I went with a pretty popular snack food, chifrio. It's a layered dish with rice and beans at the bottom, then crispy pork rinds and pico de gallo salsa on top, plus some avocado. I also had some patacones. I've had similar things in a few different countries I've visited, fried green plantains. They're always so good anytime I've had them, so I couldn't say no. After dinner, I had to remind myself that it was still early. The early morning start to get to the waterfall mixed with the early sunsets here were really throwing me off. But I'm glad I started my day so early. I was able to see the waterfalls before it got really busy, and I was back in time to avoid the afternoon rain, so it worked out perfectly for me. It's actually really nice being out at nighttime here. Since it's not too late, there are still lots of people out and everything is nicely lit up, a much nicer way to spend the night than just back at my hotel. And look, another public hand washing station like I saw on the staircase at the waterfall. It's nice that they have these if you want to clean up. But after a great first day in La Fortuna, I finally decided to call it a night since I have another early morning plan tomorrow. That's the end of my first 2 days in Costa Rica. This is my first time in the country, and I've only had a chance to see a little bit, but so far it's definitely living up to my expectations. Don't worry though, this is only part 1, and I have a lot more to see and do while I'm here. I'm planning to go on some nature hikes to see some animals, hike to the volcano, swim in some natural hot springs, hike in a cloud forest, go ziplining through the trees, and much more. Make sure to come back and check out the other videos of my time in Costa Rica. I'll put links down below in the description. If you have any questions about anything I've shown or done or seen, ask me in the comments. And while you're at it, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. If you want to see what I'm up to now, I'm firsthand globetrotting on Instagram. Follow me on there. And don't forget, it's an incredible world out there, so pick up your passport and do some firsthand globetrotting of your own.